Hello everyone, and welcome to the RV Inspection and Care podcast and video. I'm Dwayne and I'm a certified RV inspector. Today we're going to be talking about some of my very best RVing tips for 2022. Yes, another year is ending. But you know, over the course of the last year, I was able to share a lot of great RV tips on this channel. So let's take a look back at some of the best ones that I've handpicked for you. These are tips that always work. So let's go ahead and let's get started. Number one, I made a video in the last year about RV tires and brands that are the best ones to choose. And you know, that's a great video in and of itself. If you're going to be buying tires for your RV for any reason, well, that's a great video. It's going to tell you the brands that are usually recognized as being the best quality. However, in that video, I also provided a really good tip about a place to buy your RV tires, and that is MOTORHOMETires.com. Yes, it's all online. They have lots of tires for you to choose from, good quality tires, but here's the kicker. When you buy the tires from them, they also include installation wherever your RV is. In other words, they'll send someone out to install the tires for you wherever it is, almost anywhere in the country. It could be at your home, at a campground, almost anywhere. That is really convenient. You don't have to take your RV somewhere else. They come to you. And you know, there's very high marks in the reviews for the work that they've done. So it's something to remember. I recommend write that website down. It's MOTORHOMETires.com. All right, let's move on to my second video that I'm going to take RV tips from. And that was one I made on the top 5 RV tips for buying used RVs. Now, there were 5 tips there, but I'm only going to focus on 3 of them right now. And the first one is this. If you're going to buy a used RV within the last 5 to 10 years, I recommend get a quality brand. Make sure it's a quality brand. Now, once you get beyond 10 years or so, and it goes back that far, well, then probably it's more important to make sure the RV was maintained well. But within 5 to 10 years, the quality brand will make a big difference. Now, if you don't know which manufacturers, which brands out there are the best to choose from, that's not uncommon. And there's help on the way for that, because I've made several guidebooks on Class A's, Class B's, Class C's, and so on that will give you that information on the very best brands to choose from, the ones that are a cut above their competition. So that'll be a big help for you. The second tip in that video that I want to review is ask for maintenance records when you're buying a used RV. Now, they're not always going to be there, but if you can get them, there's 2 big advantages to it. Number one, it tells you what has been done to that RV, and sometimes, more importantly, what has not been done to that RV. And it's good to know those things as you take ownership. However, the second reason why it's great to have maintenance records is it gives you insight into how that RV was cared for, how the person who owned it really cared for it while they owned it. And that's very good to know. Now, the third tip that I want to provide for you out of that video is when you're buying a used RV, always check those joints and seals on the RV. Now, there's very few people that do this. Usually they go in, they look at the colors and the floor plan and how big it is and what kind of amenities it has and all of those things. But the joints and the seals are the life of that RV. So go around and check them. It won't take you long to do. You can just look for places that maybe has holes in the sealant, or there's gaps in those places. That's something you want to give attention to right away. And then make sure there's been no water intrusion in that RV, because water getting in an RV is not a very good thing. And by the way, don't just check the joints and seals on the sides. If you're really going to do this right, you need to get up on the roof or have someone else do it and make sure that you check them up there as well. Almost nobody goes on the roof when they buy an RV, but this is a tip that could save you a ton of money and frustration. All right, let's move along to the third video. It was about a very important safety subject, and that is, what do you do in an RV tire blowout? A sudden loss of pressure, especially in your steering tires, because that could throw off your steering. And if you start going sideways as you're going down the road at 60 miles an hour, well, I think you know something really bad could happen. But if you know the procedure for handling that kind of situation, you can deal with it safely. And let me give you the tip I want to give you out of that video. Number one, don't hit those brakes hard and fast. That's probably one of the worst things to do, even though it's the tendency. It's what we all want to do, is hit those brakes and put that brake on hard. But there is a procedure for handling a blowout safely and getting off the road safely. And so watch that video and it will give you the whole rundown on how to do it the right way. Let's move on to the next video, and that was about how to retire in an RV. And again, there were a lot of tips in there because that's essentially what we did. So I knew a lot of things to tell you what to do on that worked for us. But there's three of those things that I want to share with you in this video. Number one, if you're not used to RVs at all, so you want to retire in an RV, but you're really not sure about what RVs do or how to use them, I really recommend that you go out there and rent one first and take a trip, a good long trip in it. If you have a spouse, take them with you. See how you get along with one another in a small living space like that. Learn about how RVs are set up and how you take them down at campgrounds and so on. Learn about how to travel with them. That will be invaluable information before you buy an RV that you're going to keep for many years. All right, the next tip that I'm going to give you is, before you buy an RV, visit lots of RV shows and dealers and go through tons of RVs and just see how they fit you. Now, what I mean is, when you go to shows and dealers, yeah, there's going to be salespeople. Just tell them that you're looking at this point. That's all you're doing. A lot of times they'll just let you go. But what you want to do is go through all kinds of sizes, different types of RVs, different floor plans. As I always say, sit in the chairs, lay on the bed, sit on the toilet, stand in the shower, do those things that will be the things you do when you're living in an RV. And before long, you're going to get a pretty good picture of the kind of RV and even the specific brands and models that fit you best. So that's a really good tip. The last tip from that video is learn some RV maintenance. It's really not hard to do. There's about 80% of things that can go wrong on an RV that the average RV owner could fix on their own if they just have a little knowledge. So learn to do some RV maintenance. There's great videos on YouTube to show you how to do that. All right, let's move on to the next video that had tips in it. And that's one that I made about tow vehicles, especially flat towing in 2022. I get tons of questions about flat towing. About the lights, the brakes, how do you set it up and so on. But one of the first things you really need to know is what vehicles you can safely flat tow because there are not a lot of them. In fact, the vast majority of vehicles that are made out there cannot be flat towed. So you need to learn which ones are most common, which are the ones that people seem to have the best success with. And that's what that video will teach you. It's great tips. Now, the final video we're going to talk about today is my list of cheap RV travel tips. And these are cheap, cheap, cheap. They don't cost hardly any money at all. First of all, we're going to talk about a tip about how to keep things in your cabinets as you're driving down the road. You know, it's very easy for a cabinet door to just pop open and then bottles and everything in it comes out on the floor and maybe breaks on the floor. We've had that happen, and we've had a huge mess to clean up while we're on our trip. And believe me, it's no fun. So here's what we did to solve that. We went and bought tension rods that you can get in almost any home improvement store, made sure they were cut to the right size, put those tension rods in the cabinets. And so even if the door flies open, nothing in that cabinet is going to come falling out. And that has worked very well. Another cheap tip is people have trouble with their slide seals flipping like they should. When the slide goes out, it should flip out. When the slide goes in, it should flip in. Well, a lot of times seals don't cooperate with you. They'll be about halfway in and out, and you know, that's a real irritation to have to go around and fix all your slide seals after you set up. Well, there's a way to do it automatically, and it's very cheap. What we did is we bought furniture bumper pads, put them on the side of our slide in an up and down manner, so from the top to the bottom, about 12 to 18 inches apart. And all you have to do is just stick them on, and then when the slide goes out, it automatically grabs the seal, flips it out, and when the slide goes in, it automatically grabs it and flips it in. I had one slide that just was a pain. I installed those little bumper pads, and I never have a problem since. So it works really good, and it's really cheap. The last cheap travel tip is about protecting your RV floors from your slides, because sometimes slides come in and they will leave marks on your floor or on your carpet. Well, a cheap way to handle that is to get plastic cutting boards like you can get at Walmart or almost anywhere. They are so cheap, it's incredible. You just put those plastic cutting boards down where the rollers come across on your floor, and so the rollers will hit them and not the carpet or the floor itself. And so it can't hurt anything inside your RV. And then once you take the slides back out, you just take the little cutting boards up and store them away. And they're so small and light that they're easy to store. So that's another very cheap RV tip that really works. Well, there are tons more tips that I went over during the last year. I mean, I made a lot of videos, and there's a lot of tips in them. If you want, go back through them, and I know you're going to find some real gems that's going to be helpful for you, because I do my very best to share everything I learn with you, and that way make your RVing experience even better. But I will mention this, I also share a lot of RV tips in my Facebook group, and the group is entitled RV Life Tips and Reviews. So please join my Facebook group. The link to that will be in the description of the video and the podcast. We would love to have you. I put out great RV tips almost on a daily basis there. Now, also keep in mind there's going to be a lot more RV tips coming your way in 2023. So please subscribe to my channel and my podcast. And on the video, please hit that notification button. And that way you'll always know when a video has come out. Well, that's it for now. Have safe and happy travels, my friends, until next time in next year.